Hello friends, and welcome to episode 4 of my How to Backpack series. This episode is going to be covering the apparel you'll need for your outdoor adventure. As all the other videos, this is going to be a general overview of what you'll need, and more research is probably going to be required for your best result for your trip in particular. So I definitely encourage you to check out some other forums, maybe go to your local outdoor retailer and ask them some questions, because they'll be able to give you more specific advice than I can through a video. So, let's get started. The apparel that you wear on your body in the outdoor sense, if you're talking about layering, is broken down into 4 layers. Your base layer, your mid layer, your insulating layer, and your shell layer. We're gonna start from the bottom and go to the top. There are a couple of different options that you can use for your base layer. What I prefer is a nice light merino wool boxer. This helps mitigate any chafing, as well as the merino wool is actually antibacterial, so it helps keep the smell down a little bit if you don't have the water to wash your clothes every night or anything like that. Another option is the type of shorts that have a liner embedded inside of them. So it's your pants and underwear all in one. This will save some weight and keep things a little bit more simple. The only things I don't really like about this is they're really short, so you leave a lot of skin exposed for sunburn if it's really, really sunny. And there aren't really pockets in this, so it's harder to manage gear, especially for me, being I go out to photograph and things like that. I need gear readily available. If I go this route, I need to be sure that I account for that in my backpacking setup, which will be covered in the next video. The next part of your base layer is going to be what you wear on your feet, and this is the kind of socks that you like. There are a couple different setups for what people recommend to do with socks. Some recommend boot liners and then a thick sock similar to this wool sock by Smartwool. These things are great if it's not very hot out, but for me when it's 90 degrees out, the really thick socks make my feet sweat way too much, and this leads to more blisters than if I were to just wear a lightweight sock that's extremely thin with my trail runners. More on that in a little bit. What's most important is that you find out what works for your body. Go on a couple of hikes before your adventure and find out what you need to do to make yourself the most comfortable. What's gonna keep your trek easy is keeping your weight low and being sure that you're comfortable with your setup. The most important thing to consider when considering what to buy for your base layer is that it's breathable fabric that'll take moisture and heat away from your body, and you should never use cotton. The saying goes, cotton kills. Once it gets wet, it loses all of its insulative qualities, and it takes a very, very long time to dry out. So I'd recommend doing something that's a synthetic fabric, or like merino wool, where it's a blend between wool and a synthetic fabric. Synthetic fabrics are going to be best at the sweat wicking capability. So as you're moving, obviously you're generating heat. You might build up a little bit of a sweat going uphill. It's important that it can get that moisture away from your body and into the atmosphere so you don't keep that moisture, get wet, and then you don't have as good of insulation, say as the sun setting, and then you have a really cold night. That's not good. The mid layer is the first line of defense against the elements. This is the little pullover sweater that you bring with you that keeps you a little bit warm after the sun sets when you're sitting around the fire. Or maybe when you go to sleep, the fuzzy pants that you put on to go in your sleeping bag. For the mid layer, I would recommend more merino wool, such as a 200 fill merino wool pullover. My favorite is this blue zip up. It's made by Smartwool. Link down in the video description. It's super lightweight and it keeps me extremely warm even in temperatures down to 40 or 50 degrees. And being it's so thin, you can easily layer more things on top of that. You need to keep that in mind when considering what you're gonna layer with, because as you put on more and more layers, you'll need bigger and bigger gear if you don't have thin equipment. Another part of the mid layer, if it gets extra cold out, is putting on an extra pair of long underwear. These are some done by Smartwool. They're 200 fill merino wool. And these things paired with that pullover keep me warm in 40 degrees, and I am absolutely comfortable. They breathe so well. They keep you just the right amount of cool so you don't sweat, but you're perfectly comfortable and warm, even if you have to hike. Would definitely recommend Smartwool as a brand. They're very good. Moving on, the insulating layer. What I prefer for this is this extremely lightweight goose down puffy. This is the Ghost Whisperer made by Outdoor Hardware. This is extremely lightweight, coming in at under a pound altogether, but after it lofts up, it keeps you extremely warm, and you can even get one with a hood on it. Would definitely recommend this. The only downside is if this down gets wet, it loses a lot of its insulative qualities. So it's important that you also have an outer shell layer to keep that protected from the wind as well as the rain. And it's very, very important that your inner layers can breathe so this doesn't start soaking up your sweat and get you into a problem. A shell layer could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. For some, it's a windbreak. If you're just experiencing high winds, then a normal just pullover shell would do great. What I plan on using on my thru hikes are frog togs. So this is an extremely lightweight rain suit that'll keep me protected from the wind as well as the rain, because there are drawstrings where I can cinch down where the armholes and the leg holes and the waist, so that I can trap in all of that heat and keep the moisture out if it starts coming down. Frog togs are extremely inexpensive, and you can get them through Amazon for between $20 and $30, and they're by far the lightest weight. I would definitely recommend these. They are great pieces of gear. As I said, the link is down in the description. Now moving on to some of the accessories you might need. One of my favorite pieces, because I don't have a hood on my jacket, I always need to carry a beanie with me. These are so important because there's so many blood vessels in your head that a lot of the heat escapes through your head. So if you find yourself cold, try to get more insulation around your head. Beanie definitely helps in that situation. If it's extremely sunny out and you need protection from the sun, but forgot your hat, you can use something like a bandana to wrap around your head. If you're by a creek, you can dip it and then really help yourself cool off and give yourself some protection from the sun. A handkerchief can also double as a napkin, a towel, a splint. It's a really great versatile piece of gear that can help you out of a lot of situations. For your hands, if it's warm out, I definitely recommend sun gloves. This will keep the sun off of your hands so they don't get sunburnt and chapped, and it'll help keep the wind off of them so they don't dry out super fast. They're very lightweight and they help protect you from the exposure. If it's colder out, as I said the past few times, merino wool. Merino wool gloves are definitely the way to go. These even have special ends to them so that I can use a touch screen while using these gloves. These are awesome, awesome gloves. I would definitely recommend them. Moving on, a buff. These things are absolutely awesome. They can be used as extra insulation. They can be used to protect you from the sun. They can be used for a lot of different things and keep you warm. This one is made by Buff brand and it's merino wool. You can get it for extremely cheap off of Amazon, link in the description. And this is by far one of my favorite pieces of gear just because of how versatile it is, how many uses it has. If it's warm out, I would definitely recommend carrying a hat. This one, made by Outdoor Research, has this extra neck cover on it to help protect you even further from the sun. I believe this is SPF 30 or SPF 50 through this material. It'll definitely help keep the sun off of me. And then I won't have to apply nearly as much sunscreen, and therefore I won't have to carry as much sunscreen on the trail. Although it's still highly recommended because it's extremely important to keep yourself protected from the sun. Last but not least, shoes. So the current hiking shoes that I use are the Ultra Lone Peak 4.0s. These are by far the most comfortable shoes I have ever worn, and I just use the standard insoles that come with it. A lot of thru hikers recommend getting some sort of inserts, but I found that actually hurt my feet more. The cool thing about these shoes is they're zero drop. So usually your shoe holds your foot a little bit up at an angle. These keep it completely flat, so it feels like a little bit more of a natural stride. Also, there's an expanded toe box in the front, so as you hike with a big backpack on, your feet swell a little bit, they get a little bit broader, and that accounts for that room, so they're extremely comfortable and they're meant for backpacking. They're also very lightweight and they dry extremely quickly. Would definitely recommend them. I have extremely flat feet and these are by far the most comfortable shoes I've ever owned. Link in the description. And I wear some standard water shoes that I picked up from Costco. Definitely not anything fancy because I don't plan on hiking that far in them, just enough to protect my feet from the rocks on the ground. Would definitely recommend just picking up a cheap pair of water shoes for your adventures. So much for watching today's video. If you've liked the series thus far, please consider hitting that subscribe button and ring the bell icon so you get a notification whenever I post a new video. New video is out every Monday at 5 p.m. And down in the comment section, if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you so much and have a great day.